In the dying glow of a desert sunset, Sheriff Luke Granger stood between two people he once swore to protect, his estranged son, and the outlaw who once saved his life. His revolver held only one bullet, and for the first time in 30 years of wearing a badge, he didn't know who deserved mercy, and who deserved the truth. The wind crawled across the empty plains of Willow Creek, carrying dust, silence, and the kind of regret that sticks to the bones. Sheriff Luke Granger wasn't a man who trembled easily, but tonight his hand shook as he stared at the last bullet resting in his palm. It wasn't just a piece of metal. It was a decision. A destiny. A confession he'd avoided for far too long. Luke had spent 20 years keeping peace in a town where people knew more about each other's secrets than their own prayers. He'd buried criminals, buried friends, and buried pieces of himself he hoped would never be dug up. But nothing compared to the moment he received the telegram at dawn: "Your son Ethan, wanted for armed robbery." Traveling with fugitive Cole Maddox. Luke's heart had stopped. Ethan hadn't spoken to him in 5 years. Not since the night he blamed Luke for walking away from their family when duty called louder than fatherhood. And Cole Maddox, a notorious outlaw, dangerous, unpredictable, yet strangely honorable. Cole had once pulled Luke out of a burning barn during a gunfight, then vanished into the mountains before Luke could even say thank you. Now the two were riding together. Now the son he failed, and the outlaw he owed, were both wanted. At noon, Luke saddled his old horse and rode into the desert, knowing there'd be no deputies, no backup, just him, the horizon, and a final choice he never wanted to make. But Willow Creek was a town built on survival, not miracles, and a sheriff had to face what fathers run from. Hours later, he spotted campfire smoke curling into the darkening sky. Ethan and Cole were close, and Luke's gun had only one bullet left. His heart pounded with a fear he'd never admit. What if Ethan fought back? What if Cole drew first? What if a father's final choice was the one that broke him? As the sun bled into twilight, Luke whispered to the open desert, "God, don't make me choose between justice and my own blood." But fate was already stepping into the circle drawn for all three men. The fire ahead crackled like an omen. The night was about to unveil the truth he'd been hiding from his whole life. Ethan Granger looked older than the boy Luke remembered, scruff on his jaw, anger in his eyes, and a weight on his shoulders heavy enough to sink a man twice his age. Beside him sat Cole Maddox, leaning against a fallen log, wounded and pale. Blood soaked through his shirt. Luke stepped into the firelight, revolver raised. The two men froze. Ethan didn't reach for his gun. Cole didn't move at all. He was fading fast. Luke's voice cracked. "Ethan, why?" Ethan swallowed hard, his voice trembling with a guilt he no longer hid. "Dad, I wasn't robbing nobody." Cole was set up. They framed him for a bank job he didn't do. "I helped him escape because he once saved your life. I thought, maybe if I did this right, you'd finally be proud of me." The sheriff's breath caught. The truth struck deeper than any bullet. Cole coughed, struggling to lift his head. "Luke, I ain't asking for forgiveness. But your boy's no criminal. I dragged him into this. The bullet you got, if someone deserves it, it's me." Luke stepped closer, torn open by the sight of his son protecting the outlaw who once protected him. Ethan stood between them, hands trembling. "If you're gonna shoot somebody, shoot me. I'm the one who left. I'm the one who disappointed you. But don't kill a man who saved your life." Luke felt his world collapse, his gun lowered, his knees weakened. The weight of all the years he spent being a sheriff instead of a father crushed him from the inside. He looked at his son, not as a lawman, but as a man who had failed, someone who still wanted his love. "Ethan," he whispered, "I was never disappointed in you. I was disappointed in myself. I didn't know how to be a good father. I thought being sheriff was enough, but it wasn't. Not for you." Tears welled in Ethan's eyes. Cole leaned back, whispering weakly, "Luke, save the bullet. Use it for mercy, not death." Luke stared at the single bullet, the last remnant of violence he could choose, or refuse. Then he threw it into the fire. The metal hissed, melted, and vanished. Ethan gasped. Cole smiled faintly, and Luke said the words that changed everything: "No more killing. Not today. Not for family. Not for debts. We ride back to town together, alive, and we clear your names." Ethan stepped forward, and for the first time in years, hugged his father. Luke held him tight, finally choosing the thing he'd abandoned for too long, love over law. The fire crackled, the sheriff carried Cole over his shoulder, Ethan by his side. The desert night watched silently as three broken men walked toward a new beginning, bound by forgiveness instead of bullets.